Welcome. This is the lecture covering the aspects and neurochemistry of oxytocin on the antisocial spectrum disorders, and in particular psychopathy. Meaning psychopathy, though seen as hopeless as a diagnosis, can actually be helped in many ways, particularly by aiding certain chemicals in the brain. Here is the groundbreaking work. For more information, check out my other videos. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're exploring a groundbreaking idea in neuroscience and clinical psychology, the recalibration thesis. This work proposes that antisocial spectrum disorders are not the result of broken brains, but of underactivated circuits that can be restored through multi-system recalibration. In other words, the problem isn't destruction, it's disconnection. The goal of therapy, then, is not repair but reactivation, helping dormant systems come back online through targeted emotional, cognitive, and physiological engagement. Let's begin with the core concept. Traditional models of antisocial behavior often focus on deficits, damaged empathy, impaired morality, or missing conscience. The recalibration thesis challenges that view. It argues that these systems aren't missing, they're simply underused. The brain, like any adaptive machine, conserves energy by shutting down circuits that aren't reinforced. When empathy, trust, or self-control aren't rewarded early in life, those circuits go quiet. They don't vanish, they wait. Recovery, therefore, is a process of reawakening, not rebuilding. The author begins by mapping the four major systems involved in antisocial spectrum disorders: the reward circuit, the self-control network, the emotional regulation system, and the social bonding system. Each interacts with the others through feedback loops. When one system underperforms, the others compensate, often in maladaptive ways. For example, an underactive emotional circuit may lead to over-reliance on the reward system, producing impulsivity and thrill-seeking. The thesis emphasizes that these imbalances are reversible through recalibration, gradual, consistent stimulation that restores balance across systems. Let's look first at the broken reward circuit, which the author reframes as an underactivated reward circuit. In antisocial individuals, dopamine pathways are often hypersensitive to novelty but underresponsive to social reward. This means that excitement and risk feel rewarding, while empathy and cooperation do not. Therapy must therefore teach the brain to associate positive emotion with connection rather than domination. This can be done through structured social reinforcement, experiences that link trust and safety to pleasure. Over time, the reward system learns new associations, recalibrating its response to human connection. Next, the self-control and prefrontal system. The prefrontal cortex acts as the brain's executive center, planning, inhibiting impulses, and predicting consequences. In antisocial patterns, this system is often underactivated, not damaged. Stress, trauma, and chronic hyperarousal suppress prefrontal activity, leaving the limbic system, our emotional engine, to run unchecked. Recalibration involves strengthening prefrontal engagement through mindfulness, cognitive training, and consistent emotional feedback. When individuals learn to pause, reflect, and regulate, the prefrontal circuits begin to fire more efficiently. The brain literally learns self-control through repetition. The emotional deficit system is another key area. Antisocial individuals often show reduced activity in the amygdala and insula, regions responsible for empathy and emotional resonance. The recalibration thesis suggests that these circuits are dormant because they were never safely activated. Early environments that punished vulnerability or rewarded aggression teach the brain to suppress emotional response. Recovery therapy must therefore create safe emotional experiences, moments where empathy is not dangerous but rewarding. Through repeated exposure, these circuits reawaken, allowing genuine emotional connection to emerge. Now we come to the recalibration cascade, the process by which one system's restoration triggers others. When emotional circuits begin to activate, the reward system adjusts its priorities. When self-control improves, stress hormones decrease, allowing empathy to flourish. The cascade shows that healing is systemic, not linear. You don't fix one part of the brain, you restore communication among all parts. This insight reshapes clinical practice. Therapy becomes less about symptom management and more about system synchronization. The author also explores natural stimulation, the idea that recalibration doesn't require invasive intervention. Simple diet and human experiences can activate dormant circuits: eye contact, laughter, shared rhythm, compassion, and trust. These experiences release oxytocin and serotonin, which in turn modulate dopamine and cortisol. The result is a biochemical environment conducive to healing. The thesis calls this biological empathy, the process by which connection itself becomes medicine. It's a beautiful synthesis of neuroscience and humanity. The body heals through relationship. An important part of the thesis is its honest limitations. Not every circuit can be fully restored, and not every environment supports recalibration. Chronic stress, lack of social support, or ongoing trauma can keep systems suppressed. But even partial activation can lead to meaningful change: improved impulse control, reduced aggression, and increased emotional awareness. The author emphasizes that progress should be measured not by perfection but by movement, the gradual shift from disconnection toward coherence. The clinical implications are profound. If antisocial disorders stem from underactivation rather than damage, therapy must focus on stimulation, not suppression. Punitive approaches, isolation, confrontation, or forced compliance, only deepen underactivation. Restorative approaches, empathy, consistency, and relational safety, awaken dormant circuits. This reframes treatment from control to collaboration. The therapist becomes a co-regulator, helping the client's nervous system relearn balance through shared emotional experience. In the conclusion, the author offers a powerful statement: not broken, underactivated. This phrase captures the essence of the recalibration thesis. It's a call to shift our perspective from pathology to potential. The antisocial brain is not defective, it's adaptive. It learned to survive by shutting down certain systems. Recovery is the process of teaching it that safety exists, that connection is possible, and that empathy is rewarding. When we understand this, we stop seeing antisocial individuals as unreachable and start seeing them as dormant, waiting for the right conditions to awaken. So, as we close today's lecture, let's reflect on what recalibration really means. It's not just a clinical method, it's a philosophy of healing. It reminds us that every system, biological, emotional, social, seeks balance. When we provide safety, consistency, and compassion, the brain recalibrates itself. The recalibration thesis teaches us that recovery is not about fixing broken people, it's about reigniting the circuits of connection that make us human.